So something I noticed with the more popular shows on Disney Channel and Nickelodeon is that they either get canceled after 2 or 3 seasons, or they get a revitalization and go on for 3 more seasons. For example, the most popular shows do this, like iCarly did it when Carly got a new room, and it went on for 100 episodes. Hannah Montana also did this at the 4th season, and that revitalized it. So let's compare and contrast what made a good revitalization of a tween sitcom. Without further ado, let's jump into it. What's up, everybody? It's Johnny 2000, covering 2000s media, TV, music, and so much more. So TV shows in general need to do something every couple seasons to keep things fresh. The shows that get away with this are shows like Big Bang Theory, 2.5 Men, or How I Met Your Mother. Like, they somehow managed to get most of the sets intact for 8+ years and not need a refresh. Although they do subtle changes, like Big Bang Theory introduced new characters, slightly new locations over time. That 70s show had Eric leave after the 7th season and added a record store and a whole new main character in its 8th season. And don't forget Ashton Kutcher jumping onto 2.5 Men, becoming a completely different show in its latter half. There's so many reasons for networks to do this stuff, and I feel like actual adult sitcoms have managed to perfect it and make it subtle and effective. But when you're a teen show, it's a lot harder. Like, the characters do mature throughout the show, and pretty quickly, if you ask me. They never are meant to go on for more than 4 or 5 seasons, and if they do, it's rare, like Bunked. But for the most part, they need to keep their seasons interesting in a shorter period of time. And that's how we get shows like iCarly and Hannah Montana, 2 of the most popular shows of all time, and of course they needed to do this. But before we talk about what they did, let's talk about what other shows didn't do. Let's talk about the shows we're not counting. For example, reboots we're not going to cover. Like, the new iCarly series doesn't need to be covered because it wasn't a revitalization, it was just a complete redo. I feel like a revitalization is when you take the existing show and you don't take more of a year hiatus, you just completely go to the next season, but you change enough stuff. But yeah, reboots like Wizards Beyond Waverly Place we don't need to talk about. And Sweet Life on Deck, being essentially a rehydrated version of Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, also doesn't count because it's like completely new production codes. It counts as a new series, and we don't have to jump into that bag of worms because that's going to be another video that needs its own attention. Drake and Josh never did this. Wizards of Waverly Place did this slightly with new characters and locations that we spent more time in and consistent character arcs, but for the most part didn't need something like this. That's so Raven ended up going to be Raven's Home, which also is a sequel series and does not need to be counted. Then Declassified and Big Time Rush, the Scott Fellows shows, are also shows that never needed to be revitalized. It seems like they contained themselves within the story for as long as they could, and even though Big Time Rush felt like it went on a little long with the Palm Woods location because the characters were growing and the show was very quick to evolve, it outgrew itself very quickly, and unless they did like a 5th season, it wasn't really necessary anyway. I think they were good up until the very end. And Ned's Declassified needed to stay within the confines of middle school, which of course we all wanted them to go to high school. We wanted a 4th season that covered that, but that would have been a Sweet Life on Deck type reboot that I don't think we needed. It seemed like TeenNick did the reboot system a lot worse than Disney Channel. Disney Channel, I feel like, perfected it with the Hannah Montana finale and the Hannah Montana season 4 premiere. And I think TeenNick made it worse with the iCarly season 3 premiere. But let's break down the most vital changes. So first, we're going to talk about Zoey 101 because I feel like every season changes significantly how it is. Like, the 1st season we had Dana, the 2nd season we had Lola, then the 3rd season we took away Nicole, and then the 4th season we added Austin Butler. That show, I feel like it tried to reconstruct itself way too many times. Okay, for season 2, episode 1 of Zoey 101, we're finally back to the PCA campus. Previously all boys and finally on their 2nd semester after being passed out in the trunk of their teacher's car in the last season. Yeah, I did not think very highly of Zoey 101, and that is no surprise to anybody who saw my retrospective. And season 2 provides a lot more interesting dynamics. I feel like the characters are a lot more figured out. The plot lines are a lot more ensemble based than it was in the 1st season, and Chase and Zoey are really leaned on. for their stories. And even though Chase is pretty desperate, there's a reason. Like, Zoey is so confusing in terms of her on-again, off-again flirtation with him, where sometimes she seems like she's into him, sometimes she seems like she doesn't know how to act. Chase comes running by on his bike again. Same old Chase from the first semester. Logan's coming in with all of his stuff, his expensive stuff. I keep forgetting Logan's super rich.
For our room? Oh yeah, we are hooked up for video games, music, movies.
Dang, the TV is nice that he has. So everybody is back on campus and looking slightly older, but not by too much. They're excited about their new place they're moving into, so it's gonna be different from the first season dorm-wise. An unnamed character tells Chase that Zoey is looking for him, and obviously he ditches his friends and runs off to the distance to figure out where it is.
Zoe's looking for you behind the Science Center.
Zoey? So anyway, the job was pretty lame at first, but after a couple... Well, good talking to you, man.
I wonder what Chase's astrology sign would be. I can't believe after everything that happened in the first season that these guys are gonna be roommates again. Like, clearly Logan is a jerk. There's no part of this that says they have to. Like, it is completely their choice. Chase does a classic bike flip down the stairs like a water slide of pavement. Oh look, Zoey's hair is slightly darker now and cut shorter. She looks a little bit more like how I remember her being, but still I don't understand the personality difference when it comes to this new hair. I feel like she's still gonna be kind of people-pleasy and sassy for random reasons. Zoey Nicole talked to Chase about babbling a lot more. It seems like Chase is babbling a lot more this season already. Like, oh my gosh. They reveal that apparently Dana is studying in Paris and she's never going to be seen again. Well, I mean, they don't say that, but you know what I mean. Chase is coming home a little more strong and kind of confident even this season. Like, before he was very sheepish, and now he seems like he's going for Zoey.
Hey, Zoe. You look great.
You too. Did your hair get bushier?
I've heard that.
Dustin's also back, which is funny. They still can joke about how small he is, and I like that he doesn't really outgrow that joke at all this season.
Little help! Boy under box!
Zoey and Nicole get their new room, and Quinn video chats the girls from it. I don't know how they couldn't all be roommates. Like, why couldn't they just let Quinn be the character that moves in with them? Like, make up a reason they have to live together. I don't know why we need another main character to replace Dana. But you know what? It's gonna be relevant in a minute. And look at the video chatting. I love how back then, this would be like impossible to do. Like, when I saw this show, I was like, wow, that's so cool. That could never happen in real life. And now everybody FaceTimes, and it's not weird at all. I'm not sure if Zoey 101 excited the world with tech mates, or the idea of tech mates made everybody in the world want to go to their phones, but some Zoey 101 influence is there. Quinn is a lot more mature looking, but her weirdness is a lot more specific, and she's like showing the girls their nostrils. I don't know. We see Coco for a minute, and she shows a cooler, more daydreamier side of her, which is fun because obviously the last time we saw her, she was a little more interesting of a character, not just a stereotypical RA. RA is a residential assistant, as we called it in college. Zoey and Nicole are excited because they get to supposedly live alone, but Coco breaks it to them that somebody's gonna be taking up this spot. So the girls decide to approach the dorm advisor, which is this really frigid old woman in pink, kind of reminds me of the pink ladies from Greece, and she avoids looking at them, which is kind of a power move. I kind of like this woman. And this is one of the most Dan Schneider written shows because it's one of those crazy adults not giving the teen characters energy back at them. Like, it's clearly from the teenager's perspective because they're so open-minded and caring, and all adults are stingy and rude, which makes it a lot more realistic, probably why I related to it so much as a kid. I wonder what the lives of the writers were of this show to have so many stories for this specific series. Like, did you guys grow up in dormitories, or did you grow up in boys-only places? I don't know who the inspiration is. So the lady ends up telling Zoey and Nicole that she'll make an exception for them, but she breaks her special antique. First of all, why do you have an antique, expensive collection in your office if it's that fragile? She clearly gets a quick dislike for the girls because of this and tells them that they are not going to be able to choose their own roommate. Oh my god, that's such a crazy big decision. I've always been scared about who I would have to live with if I was forced to, and this is kind of nerve-wracking. The new dorms are jarring and very different from the first season. I felt like they were more compact and more closet-sized, and now they're becoming a lot more open and more set-like, kind of taking away the realism and the cinematic framework of the first season, but not in a negative way. It's just kind of different and becoming a little bit more of the show you and I knew. But looking back, it seems like there's so many changes between each season, I can't even recall which show you and I knew. Like, doesn't Austin Butler come in the 4th season? And doesn't Chase and Zoey get together in the 3rd? All I remember is there was too many changes. I can't believe how evolved the vibe is for this episode. The first season feels like more of a rom-com, and this one feels more like a CW series. Even if a little dark, it's still funny and light following these teenagers. And I always think these shows are weird because like having such a comedic touch on a show that was filmed single cam like this is interesting. So Zoey and Nicole meet their new roommate Lola, which of course is Victoria Justice. So in this plot, she's kind of like the goth girl, moving into Dana's spot and making the girls really uncomfortable because of how different she is. Wow, people really painted different to be weird or not positive in this day and age. She insinuates that she killed her last teacher.
And why'd you leave? Well, legally I'm not supposed to talk about it. Let's just say that teacher fell down the stairs.
And she eats eggs, which is weird because like they kind of CGI the eggs as she's drinking them. Like she couldn't actually drink eggs. Dustin's hanging out with the boys playing video games in their room, and Logan's basically turned this into a party place, which guys, you signed up for this. You knew he was going to be your roommate again. It's funny seeing Dustin around kids his own age. Zoey and Nicole hear from Quinn, who also agrees that the new girl is weird, which is crazy coming from Quinn. I like how we just assume she's normal now, like she's not categorized as weird. I feel like Lola is painting herself to be a Satanist because I can't imagine why else you just have candles in a circle around you in the room. I'm not sure if you could get away with this on TV today. Like, it's one thing to be emo, emotional, quiet, like reclusive, but this character is full on, like, lights are out, I'm talking to the devil. And I love how the first season and this season started with a roommate-issued episode. Like, if you could recall, the new roommates episode had to deal with Dana and Nicole fighting so much, and now we're having another one at the introduction of this season where Zoey and Nicole are struggling against Lola. It really is a commitment to revitalize the show, and you can tell that they want it to be a little bit different than the first season. This is probably a huge jump for them. This whole place looks like a college with how free these kids are. Like, if you see Dustin playing video games and having these parties, this wouldn't just be a dormitory. This looks like a college campus. Michael and Chase end up having to sleep outside and camp on the streets like homeless people because they don't want to sleep in the same room as Logan. I like that we get roommate issues on both accounts in this episode as opposed to the first one. Camping definitely shows their chemistry as best friends. Like, they're very sweet to each other, taking care of each other, and it makes them more likable as people despite all their flaws. Zoey and Nicole run into Chase and Michael as they're sleeping on the streets because they want to get out of their apartment too, so they relate to each other in this season a lot more than last. I can't believe out of everybody on this PCA campus, these 4 kids could be here at night in tents and nobody would notice. Like, there's nobody walking by. Where's your extras? I just need to believe that this is a real school and not some college dorm. Zoey and Nicole catch Lola on the phone talking about her whole emo thing being an act and that she's an actress, which definitely feels like a very similar character than Tori Vega in Victorious. If anything, this character is more committed to her talents and ambitions than even Tori is. Somebody who goes to a Hollywood Arts high school trying to pursue a career. Like, how is this character so much better than that character, especially since Victorious is such a better show than this? Hot take. Like, Lola is really interesting as a character, and I really commend Victoria Justice for her work on this character. So Chase and Michael take this whole if you can't beat 'em, join 'em mentality and let the party go until it's completely haywire and the electricity goes out, which finally makes them happy. They say goodnight.
Good night, Michael. Sleep tight, Chase. You guys are the worst.
Even though there's like 40 people in their apartment, probably. Sorry if I call it an apartment or dorm. I'm gonna keep switching by accident. My bad, guys. Suddenly, Lola, Nicole, and Zoey are just automatically friends. I guess the moment when they realized Lola lied to them brought them together as people? Weird way to connect. Zoey and Nicole end up pretending to murder each other, and Lola's like, what the heck? Until she realizes it's just Zoey Nicole's chance at getting back at her. Karma, but it's also weird to start your friendships off on pretending you are murderers. Overall, very interesting intro to the new season of Zoey 101. A lot has changed. The music even plays the full version of the theme song, and I don't feel like this is earned or necessary for a first episode of a new season. We didn't go through that much with the characters, like you don't have to play the second verse of this song. But this kind of also feels like a new pilot, like a new reintroduction to PCA. The new addition and subtractions of things are definitely for the better, and I'm seeing this show from a better light. Overall, good start. Then we have Hannah Montana, then we have iCarly. Okay, so the first episode we have is Sweet Home Hannah Montana, an obvious parody of Sweet Home Alabama, which is a really relevant song title to reference considering this is like bringing the countryside to the West Coast, all that Hannah Montana is about, and introducing us into this new era. So they're arriving at their new home, and Robbie Ray is focused on his hair. They do not want us to forget that.
Different house, same dippy dad.
Same dippy dad with great hair.
And we get to the new place. It's kind of like a bachelor pad, so of course Jackson's gonna love it. And I don't know why Miley's into a leather couch. I just feel like it's not relevant.
And it looks good? I gotta sit down.
Ooh, their new TV is really nice. Lily is still living with them, which is so cool because it's more ties to the original series. And the two girls are basically getting pumped for their senior year, spelling that this is going to be the end of an era, and ironically the beginning of another era for the series. The conflict that starts in the first episode is when Miley sees her new room. It turns out to be like a 12-year-old's room with all of Miley's trinkets from being a child, something that Robbie blindly thought she would want when really no teenage girl would want to have dolls and pink everywhere in their room. It's kind of annoying that in the theme song we end up seeing what the new room inevitably is, and I guess that's normal because it happened in the commercials too, but I wish they didn't tell us or show us what the room was before we got to it. Like, it's spoiled during the episode. They're gonna be living next to Jackson in the house, and that's already posed to be a problem, just like it was in the last house.
All I got was a new stereo, new TV, new memory foam, man.
And this is another Robbie Ray is out of touch episode.
I seen how much you loved it and how happy you were, and then I bought the ranch, and then I got to thinking, I said, well, shoot far, Robbie Ray, you're halfway there.
Kind of like the one where he got Miley a sweatshirt of a cat for her birthday. And it was so embarrassing, and Miley didn't want to wear it. But the whole plot is just, I don't want to embarrass myself in front of my dad. And the moral is never like, oh, it was a sweet gift. It's usually like, oh, my dad has to learn that I'm not cool when I wear this. Jackson's plots get a lot more interesting and less repetitive in the fourth season, where before he was just arguing with Rico and teaming up with Oliver, and a lot of crass storylines about how he's not hygienic. And at this time, we're finally seeing him actively pursue a single girl, which is nice. Like, he's not just going on a bunch of dates. It's like definitely a opportunity to make him seem like a better person.
Well, I mean, let's face it, you are a little doughy.
But he doesn't take that opportunity as he tries to become friends with his supermodel neighbor's brother, who is really disgusting and boyish, and he really hates him but pretends to put on a face to get with his sister, which is hopefully the last selfish thing he does in this season. I feel like the rest of it becomes about more him pining after her, which is great. It's character growth that Jackson really needed after having him for like 80 episodes having the same problems. Lily now works at the beach, which is kind of cool. We've never had Lily consistently working at a job. I mean, she had that Subway job once, but obviously it didn't pan out. And it's good to see that she's not going to go completely backwards in life. And it's definitely a good replacement for Jackson as the girls are trying to see themselves in the world too. Miley sees that one of the prizes at the boardwalk is this really cringy guitar shirt that lights up like Christmas lights. And Miley has a distinct memory of when she was little and he hated another one he wore.
Marty, I'm serious. I'm not walking out on stage in this shirt. It's humiliating.
So she's like, obviously if I give him this, he's going to realize how I feel. Another 2000s communication issue where the characters just want to assume how the other person would feel, so they act in a way that would solve that problem before it even happens, leading to further problems, which is a really good trope. It's like old school style sitcom where Robbie Ray is in a sweater vest and Miley is dressed kind of like a Cinderella cleaning lady. I don't really know her outfit in this time.
You do so much for me. I just want to do something special for you. Surprise!
Good heavens!
Before she's about to buy that shirt, a little girl turns in her tickets, wanting to spend all of her tickets on a tiger first. Miley tries to bribe the girl to get the shirt, but it doesn't work.
$20 bill.
How about some personal space, freak?
Okay, fine. I've been.
Forget it.
Miley also reveals that she has a quick way to turn into Hannah Montana in an instant, which is really interesting. It kind of makes her feel like a superhero. It's like this small package that fits into her pocket. And I like that Hannah Montana is going to be the one to solve the problem of this initial episode. Of course, it's like relevant. So the little girl ends up wanting to spend all of her tickets.
Give me my stinking tiger.
Until Hannah Montana comes in and bribes her to take her tickets by giving her a private show. This is crazily desperate, Miley. She literally gets the whole boardwalk to surround her for a live show in exchange for tickets. This helps her achieve her goal, which doesn't usually happen. Usually it goes wrong at this point, and she gets the sweater for her dad. He finally admits that he doesn't like it.
I hate the shirt.
And now you realize that
I really hate the shirt.
And they have an open conversation where things don't go completely crazy because of something she did, which is kind of refreshing. I like that it's solved through just a conversation and a little bit of Lily mimicking Miley and forcing her to say what she can't, this is where these guys are getting a little codependent on each other. You guys need to live your own lives a little bit. Robbie's super understanding, so there's not a lot of conflict, and he's basically like, yeah, I'll help you guys get a new mature room to reflect your new personalities as opposed to your childhood bedroom. And we end on them thinking that the barn is the best place, and spoiled what it's gonna inevitably look like in the opening, but whatever, we're gonna see past that. And it's a very interesting first episode. Jackson throws around his neighbor every opportunity he gets, and when he finds out that Sienna, his neighbor, already has a boyfriend, he is very quick to throw her brother out of his life. Like, he is not trying to commit to him.
I doubt it. She's probably hanging out with her dumb boyfriend.
She has a boyfriend?
Yeah, and he thinks he's all cool because he's a professional football player.
Huh. You know what I just realized?
Get out!
But of course, when they find out they broke up, Jackson treats him well again, which is not cool. I think Jackson's really cold-hearted in this, like as if he didn't learn anything through the last couple seasons. But it's a lot. It's a lot for Hannah Montana to have to reset itself after it was proven doing so well with the Malibu Beach, with the standard setting. I feel like it was going to initially end after season 3, but then they renewed it for season 4 because of how popular and undeniably culture-shifting this show was. So they had a lot to prove in this quote-unquote pilot for a new season, where they needed to convince longtime fans that this was still a journey worth being on, and also being true to the characters, having them grow up and actually evolve the issues they're having, because keeping a secret like this is bound to cause some brain development issues, and you definitely see it with her relationship with Lily, with her relationship with her brother, but at least it's all a step up, and we're not just rehashing the same episodes over and over again. Like, they're a lot more character-based, and this episode is a good reflection of how it worked out. I feel like it kind of got worse after this point. After I Got a Hot New Room, things just got a little too quirky for me, and yet Hannah Montana didn't overstay its welcome. It just kind of wrapped things up in a way that was really true to its characters. iCarly really teetered out in a horrible way, but I'm not going to get into that because Hannah Montana is the show I like to report on. Overall, did this work? I think so. I think it did a great job. There are some unavoidable differences between the season 4 era of Hannah Montana and the rest of the series. Like, this one completely refreshed itself. Let me go over all the changes. So one, the most obvious, there's a new house. There's a new set for the front of the house, the center of the house, the backyard, and Miley's new room. In this episode, specifically just the front of the house and one of the rooms. We even have a new roster of characters. While Oliver left, we have the inclusion of a really dumb neighbor, the kid from 2.5 Men, as Jackson's potential new friend. And Jackson must not have learned anything about friendship throughout the series. Like, even with Thor, all those things he learned about being selfless have just completely flown out the window because he completely hates this new guy until he realizes that his sister is a really attractive model. Now, these two characters are both new mainstays for the season. Another obvious difference would be Robbie's haircut. Like, it's very clear that he's trying to go for something younger, as he's been wearing down for quite some time now on the regular show. And the house is kind of set up like a bachelor pad. I felt like the house before was very kid-friendly, very like welcoming to teenagers, while this feels like Robbie's house that Jackson and Miley are staying at. Like, their parents got a divorce and he got the cooler house and the younger girlfriend. Not trying to point fingers to real life or anything, but you know what I mean. Then, of course, the intro and music is different in the opening. Of course, they keep the Best of Both Worlds song, which is phenomenal, but they do the new 2009 remixed version of the theme song, and it's a lot better. together. It's a lot more energized, I feel like. The old theme song was starting to wear down a little bit, and this is another thing that the iCarly team did too. Like, they had the most significant jump in their theme song when they had the change of their sets and everything. Like, when they entered this new era. The TV screen is different, everything was shot in 4:3, and now it is officially in HD, which kind of helps my eyes. I'm so tired of looking at that stuff. It looked like it was 5 years older than this. Took Disney so much longer than it did Nick to jump into this new era. Miley's hair is longer, which is interesting because in the first season it was like standard length, the second season was longer, third season was significantly the shortest, and then now we're kind of back to the longest, which is interesting. It takes a step beyond the first season, which is a metaphor for like her finally growing up and becoming more mature, and I like that it's just like a subtle difference that enters this new era. Jackson's hair has gotten slightly darker, but not by much. He kind of looks like his third season self again, and Lily just looks older. So Lily loves the new house. Miley and Lily are finally living together again. They're excited because it's like a good party place, and it is, it's huge. I don't know why they couldn't have had parties at their last place though. That was definitely big too. Everybody looks significantly older, like they are definitely adults in this. And I like that the whole theme is senior year. I was wondering at the end of the last season 3, when we were going into the prom, if this was the last year, but I like that we're really clear that this is the final year of Hannah Montana's schooling. It's crazy to think Miley's secret separated her from being able to be close to anybody that's not Lily. She's not open to new people because the secret kind of keeps her in her own little bubble, and she's never going to connect with other people if she keeps the secret. It's kind of like when you grow up in school and you have your friend group and you're not really open to a lot of new things, but then when you go to college or graduate high school, you suddenly get exposed to all these cultures and these differences, and it's like something you either embrace or you kind of stick to yourself. And I feel like Miley keeping the secret well into her senior year just shows that she only really was open to Lily and Oliver and the people that knew her secret. Like, she had this secret world, and that could be kind of isolating. Like, I wish Robbie kind of stepped in to be like, no, you have to get to know more people. You have to at least like show your true self to more than 2 people. Like, they all don't have a lot of external experiences outside of each other. Even Lily is almost kind of codependent on Miley because half of her life is contingent on Miley's entire lifestyle and her secret and everything that's going on with her. I know that's a very like egocentric way to look at this show, but it's true, you know, like Miley is the galaxy and everybody is just a little planet that kind of has to do with her. And that's more of a storytelling trope. It's not a reflection on the actual culture around this. It's just funny to like look at and take that seriously. With the change of set, it's like a completely new vibe, like borderline another series. Adding Forever to the end of Hannah Montana's title is also a bold move, being that it was so specific for so long. I feel like the references to the movie are the most present in this season because it is guaranteed after the filming of it, as opposed to season 3, which you weren't quite sure when it jumped in the timeline, even though it was season 3, episode 12, for the record. But luckily they fill us with familiar characters to kind of get us comfortable with it, kind of in the way that iCarly did. Like, we have Sarah and Joni coming over to their new house, Rico making his appearance as he's still a main character and he just looks significantly older with his haircut. And of course the Malibu beach, like, we're exposed to a whole new side of the beach. I always wondered when I was little, like, why did they never go back to that original side? Like, they're not nostalgic for it? Like, they're at this new boardwalk that's kind of an arcade and honestly more family friendly. It felt like the last location was focused on the beach and teenagers, but this one feels like a deeper dive into reality and real life. And it's weird because it feels like Miley's outgrown her Tennessee life as she becomes more fit to the Los Angeles culture, and adding the horse and barn vibe is just another way of attaching us to Miley's roots, which is really interesting. I like that the 4th season is more focused on adding depth to her character as opposed to just closing everything off and ending the series. But yeah, it's a lot to get used to in a first episode of a new series. The last episode was them looking at the house that they were at for literally like 65 episodes, 80 episodes even. And getting used to this almost gives you the vibe that it's going to be going on for more than a couple seasons, because why would you add so many new elements that are only temporary? But I feel like they just needed to have us end on Miley growing up and going out of her normal world, which is cool. Most shows don't get to surpass the standard set and we get to see them, the characters, in their next era of life. It's more so the shows that were popular enough to go on for so long, like iCarly and this show. And Zoey 101 kind of changed after every season, so I don't even know how to address that. I think they were just trying to fix themselves, but it did not work. So we haven't really gone over iCarly's transition to the 3rd and or 4th and or 5th season, because these episode discrepancies are a little bit crazier than you remember. If you want to check out my video on that, you could definitely see that. It's up, go ahead. But today we're focusing on this specific rehydration of iCarly. It says season 3 episode 1, but season 2 dragged on for more than one season. It's too much to uncover. But basically, this is the era in which iCarly needed to make enough changes that it wasn't the same show as before, but it still wasn't abandoning its original premise of the iCarly web show that made it so popular in the first place. It's a really pivotal episode because the show could have crashed and burned at this point, or it could have been revitalized and made better for new audiences. I'm curious if you guys remember when this shift happened way back when. In Hannah Montana, they had a complete change of location, characters, even a little bit of their tone, having more mature themes at play as they try to wrap up Miley's story arc. While iCarly kind of had less of a reason to refresh itself, it's not like the characters were going into their final year of high school, but it's been about like 70 episodes of them just putting on a web show in their attic and spending time in their living room. So I Got a Hot New Room was the way that they attempted to revitalize this series. So we start with a web show. The episode is celebrating Carly's birthday.
Tell them. No, I don't want anyone to know that my birthday is coming up. Send me presents, even though I love items such as jewelry, purses, fine shoes, makeup, lip gloss, a new pair pad, sports cars, lunch meat, Mexican beverages, a unicorn, internal organs, external organs, artichokes, and a VHS copy of the 1980s film Over the Top, starring Sylvester Stallone. They took his son!
And Gibby is inside a giant pie revealed to them on the webcast, which is nuts. Immediately, the opening is filled with new clips, but they're not new from this upcoming season. A lot of them are from the 2nd season that already happened, which is crazy because it doesn't really fit the new vibe in the same way Hannah Montana added their season's new clips. Carly comes downstairs to greet Spencer, who pretends like he didn't know it was Carly's birthday.
Is it Yom Kippur already? Oh, it's your birthday!
Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday, kiddo. You want some cereal? We got bitty wheats or fiber nuts.
Which was really funny because that happened in Drake and Josh when Josh ran over Oprah. Like, that was such a funny plot. Spencer's pretty much just putting on a show, getting Carly to leave the room long enough for them to set up a surprise party, which I don't know why she had to come down before they set up the surprise party. Like, they could have just had it all ready when she came down. They get into really weird poses, and she comes back and is super excited. We've referenced the goat that apparently made her uncomfortable at one of her parties.
It wasn't the worst.
Yes, it was. He took me to a petting zoo.
How was I supposed to know the goat would do that?
Don't talk about what the goat did!
And comes up almost once a season and is just completely an unnecessary detail that I don't need to know about.
What did the goat do?
Tebow!
And even Tebow is a part of this now. He definitely wasn't super relevant in that last episode where everybody was coming over because it was too hot, but they wanted to bring him to Carly's birthday party to also usher him in this season. So already we have like one new change, is that Tebow is a main character. Everybody's wishing Carly a happy birthday and one person doesn't, so Sam threatens him. Turns out he doesn't even speak English, which is so disrespectful, Sam.
He's an exchange student from Italy.
Sì, Italia.
Ti consiglio di fare gli auguri di compleanno a Carly ora, altrimenti ti spezzo le gambe!
Happy birthday, Carly.
Gibby brings over his grandfather to the Shay's house, and he's pretty unresponsive, which is kind of funny. I guess we just laugh at old people in these Dan Schneider shows. Turns out he is here to cut Spencer's hair, because Spencer needs a change for this new season. He's had this hair super long for quite some time now, and I like that they're really acknowledging the haircut change, because like in shows like Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, like you could tell which season it is based on their hair, and I feel like it's nice to see somebody acknowledge that. Of course, Spencer's terrified because this guy who's a barber is just super senile. Like, I would not trust this guy with a pair of scissors and my hair. Spencer's hair was not this short since like the first season, and it's looking good, I gotta say. Definitely gives me like nostalgic vibes, but ushers us into this new era that they're trying to create, which is a lot goofier right off the bat. Like, they're throwing quicker jokes at us. Like, I don't feel as ready for this, and characters have more shocking moments in smaller beats of dialogue than ever before. Spencer has a surprise for Carly, which is upstairs, and it turns out to be a fire. No surprise, Spencer caused another fire. So Spencer tried to make Carly a lamp out of gummy bears, but it leads to this giant fire in their apartment. And it's crazy that we're halfway through the episode and the plot just kind of starts now. I feel like this is one sign that iCarly is just going off the rails on its own terms. Like, they don't really need to have the structure anymore. They're like, we can just do whatever we want with this character because the show's so popular. So it turns out Carly's room is completely destroyed, and this is a rental house. Can you imagine the damages that go with this? Obviously, Carly feels super terrible and blames Spencer for it because, yeah, he kind of did it. But I feel bad because it's like Spencer clearly wanted her to have a good birthday. He did a lot to help her so far, and suddenly she's devastated. And I kind of feel for her, like, if you lost all your possessions like this, you would feel horrible about yourself. And of course, the person who did it would feel worse. I feel kind of bad for Spencer in this. He finds out from this insurance guy that he actually can get a lot of money for her room, allowing him to repair it any way she wants, which is insane because the plot just happened and is solved within 2 minutes, and I guess the rest of the episode is us celebrating that the plot was solved. At least they do a good job at delivering these jokes, like Spencer's pretending like things aren't good, and we follow his character a lot in this. He excitedly tells Sam and Freddie what he's up to, and is trying to figure out the perfect room to surprise Carly with. Carly ends up getting a job with Tebow.
Morning, Tebow.
I'm your boss now. You gotta call me Mr. Bo.
Mr. Bo?
Nah, I'm just pulling your peach.
To try to pay for the repairs of her room, which happened in Drake and Josh in the I Love Sushi episode when they had to get jobs for accidentally getting their house furniture stolen. Remember that episode? That was kind of crazy. So Carly's getting a job with Tebow, and Spencer's using this as an opportunity to get the entire room done before she gets home. And I wish the episode started with us burning down the room and the rest of it was the challenges that come with redesigning her room, because it just feels like everything is solved within 2 minutes. It's just, hey, here's a problem. Oh, and it's solved. Here's a problem and it's solved. Like, I'm not worried about anything happen while I'm watching Carly stick a stick through tacos. Like, it's barely got stuff going on. With a crew of 30 people, Spencer finally finishes the room, and we don't get to see it yet. Carly comes home from a job, and she's miserable, having to repay all of the debts that Spencer caused.
So how was work at the smoothie?
Stupid.
He tries to get her to go up to the room, but she is not excited because it is depressing. Until the three main characters welcome her to the brand new room, and it is state of the art. It looks exactly like a Zoey 101 dorm, and Spencer irresponsibly spent all of his money on specifically Carly's room.
Which is so stupid because we rent this place, but who cares?
Which is another red flag as an adult. I'm worried about who Carly's gonna marry with all these male role models in her life. Like, she's gonna marry somebody that ends up putting their lives at risk often, because that's just like the people she hangs around. And the rest of the episode is literally just showing us the cool perks of her room. It feels like there is like absolutely 5 minutes of conflict and 20 minutes of them just showing off, telling jokes, and redoing the set in front of us. I don't know why the writers think they could have just done whatever they want because the show is this popular, but I guess it works. From this point on, the show really does make a change though. Like, it's not just the room, it's the characters that come in. Gibby's in it so much more. Same with Tebow, which was kind of unexpected. And we find ourselves at a lot of spots that we were never at as much before, like the Jamba Juice place and Carly's new room. It wasn't a complete refresh like Hannah Montana did, where they kind of switched locations, but iCarly was trying to accomplish the same thing. They were trying to keep the old viewers engaged in the upcoming transition that the characters had in their lives, so they could tell new stories without losing people. But in all honesty, it definitely lost me, because what's one thing that changed about iCarly that Hannah Montana didn't change? The structure of the show. See, it's one thing to add and change a lot of pre-existing things, but the core backbone of the show being changed is exactly what made it fail. I consider this a not really successful transition because they cut off all the things that mattered about their show. Instead of having a setup with an issue, the web show being involved, and character growth by the end of the episode, we just get thrown into a bunch of scenarios that Dan Schneider wants us to watch and watch the characters act weird. And from this point on, the show just only becomes that. I'm not sure if you guys saw my video on the April Fool's episode, but it is off its hinges as well. It's just so crazy to me to think that they could change such a fundamental part of the series and still be just as popular. But you know what? The ratings don't lie. It kind of was like that. I feel like iCarly didn't go down in its popularity or anything, but it did lose its artistic integrity, something that Hannah Montana had kept till the very finale, as opposed to the iCarly finale, which I wasn't super proud of. Maybe we should compare those shows in the future. But yeah, the show's tone is completely different. iCarly took this I Got a Hot New Room and completely changed everything. If you ask me, I definitely think they should have had a finale after the last season. That would have been a perfect show. But this is where iCarly definitely loses its reputation with me, and I'm not sure how you guys feel about season 4 on or season 3 on, but for me, it wasn't super fun. But which one did you guys think was the more interesting change? Did Hannah Montana do it better? Did iCarly do it better? Did you stop watching when Hannah Montana hit forever? Or did you stop watching when iCarly started to become more of a meta joke in itself? Thank you guys so much for watching and have a great day.